Do you struggle with show, don't tell? When I first started writing, one of the things I struggled with was really understanding show, don't tell. And if you can relate, this video is for you. What is show, don't tell? Well, show, don't tell is creating a visual picture in the mind of the reader of what is happening, instead of just telling the reader what's happening. Another way to say this is telling is stating what is happening, and showing is creating a word picture that allows the reader to interpret what is happening and experience the story on an emotional level. By creating a visual picture for the reader of what the character is feeling, experiencing, and thinking, your writing will be deeper and more impactful. This helps create a stronger emotional connection between the character and the reader, and it also allows the reader to experience the story through the eyes of your main character. I really like describing it this way, in that the reader is living vicariously through the character in your story. Is all telling bad? This is a question that I've been asked a lot, and the answer to that is no. All telling is not bad. There is no formula for how much telling there should be in your story, but there is some degree of telling in every story. But you are the artist. You are the one creating this canvas of your story, and you get to decide. But the more showing you can do, the deeper and richer the experience will be for the reader. One of the things that really helped me is this little rule, this little helpful tidbit is anytime you are stating an emotion, look at that. Is the character mad? Well, how are they mad? What's their body language? What's their facial expression? What kind of words are they saying? How are they interacting with the world around them to show that they're mad? I highly recommend you get the Emotion Thesaurus. This is actually a whole series of writing help books that you can get. I recommend them highly. This book is one of my favorites. If I'm trying to figure out how would the character show irritation, I can look that up in this book, and it'll tell me the body language, the posturing, the words, how to express that, how a person expresses that emotion. I will put the link in the description so you can check out the Emotion Thesaurus for yourself. I highly recommend it. Here is an example of this. Mary was mad at Joe for being late. I changed it to, as Joe entered, the clock blinked like a neon light in the dim room. He ran a hand through his messy hair and sighed. Mary gritted her teeth and slammed the book onto the table. Nice of you to finally show up, Mary said. Generally, when you take something that's telling and you turn it into showing, generally it ends up being more words, because it takes a lot more words to describe what someone is expressing through their body language and the things around them than it does to just state Mary was mad. A good thing to remember with show, don't tell is show the things that are important to the character and important to the plot line, and then tell in the spaces in between. I'm working on the revisions for book 2 in the Electrical Saga, The Hunted, and I'm going to share with you some of my editing process. I am kind of evaluating the book based on the different word usage, and I'm evaluating this concept of show, don't tell. And I'm really looking at, are there areas where I'm telling, could I change it and make it showing, and really looking at that in that manuscript. So I'm going to share some of my things that I've adjusted in the book that I'm currently working on with you. Here are a few things to keep in mind when you are evaluating your manuscript for show, don't tell. And the first thing is sensory words. And go through your manuscript and really look for those sensory words: saw, tasted, smelled, felt, heard. Those sensory words are often, you can often look at that and decide, can I change that to use a strong verb instead of the sensory word? Your weak verbs are things, the basic forms of the verb, things like run, walk, sat. Those are really weak verbs. A stronger verb would be skipped, hopped, darted, things that are a little more descriptive, and that makes them stronger. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any future videos. Another little thing to consider is to use strong verbs over adverbs, the ly words. Now, it's really funny because you can read a lot of books. I've read a lot of books, and a lot of books use adverbs, ly words. They're not all bad. I'm not saying that you can't use them, but you might want to just evaluate where you've used them and think, can you make it stronger? Can you make your writing better? A couple of other things with show don't tell is use dialogue and describe body language. If you're looking at a scene and trying to determine how you can make it more showing, put yourself in the scene and ask yourself the sensory questions. What does your character see, feel, smell, taste, hear? And then describe that. What does it smell like in the room? A deep, musky smell? I mean, what does it smell like in the room? And describe it using strong verbs and words that really describe and make a word picture for the reader. And one last tip is the word was. If you have a sentence that has the word was, that's really a passive sentence. So if you can remove the word was and make this sentence more active, that's a really good thing to do. That doesn't mean you cannot use the word was in your manuscript, but evaluate it. Can you make it more active? Here are a couple examples that I told you I would do from my manuscript, The Hunted in the Electricals Saga. She glanced behind and saw Josie standing just outside the car door. You'll notice in this example that I used glanced behind and saw, and I really wanted to get rid of both of those things. And so this is what I changed it to. Josie stood just outside the car door with one hand on her belly. This may seem like a small change, but I was able to remove those sensory words, and I think it really better clearly describes what the main character is seeing without using those sensory words. Now, this is another fun example from the book. It's a little bit longer, and so hopefully you'll be able to see maybe a little bit of change in it, and you'll have to give me your opinion which one you think is better. Blaze glanced back and took a step backwards, while still holding aim on the prowling beasts. Victoria took a few steps backwards as well. The lionesses followed them in a zigzagging pattern, their eyes never leaving Blaze and Victoria's faces. Light faded as they slowly stepped closer to the truck, and the rain continued to fall, impeding their retreat. Victoria stepped in a puddle and slipped. Her hand hit the ground and splashed mud into her face. Blaze gripped her forearm tightly and pulled her to her feet, scrambling to keep her feet in place. They continued this delicate balance until Blaze felt Heath touch her back. 3 lionesses continued to stalk toward them as Victoria jumped inside the truck bed. Blaze followed close behind her, and as Heath and Roy both darted in, they pulled the door shut, just as a lioness let out a roar and charged. She slammed into the closed hatch, cracking the glass and falling to the ground. She roared again, and the other lionesses circled the vehicle. Now, in this scene, there's a lot happening. There's lions. The lions are prowling towards them. It's raining. It's muddy. It's really an exciting scene in the book. It's kind of one of pivotal high points. But I wanted it to be better. I wanted to get rid of the word felt, where she feels someone behind her, and I wanted to clean it up and make it a clearer picture. So here's what I changed it to. I would love to hear from you in the comments what you think, version A or version B. Which one do you like better? Blaze glanced around and stepped backward while still holding aim at the prowling beasts. Victoria trailed close at her back. The lionesses followed them in a zigzagging pattern, their eyes never leaving Blaze and Victoria. The light from the lightning faded as they edged closer to the truck. The rain continued to fall, impeding their retreat. Victoria stepped into a puddle and slipped. Her hand hit the ground and splashed mud on her face. Blaze gripped her forearm tightly and pulled her to her feet, scrambling to keep her feet in place. They continued this delicate balance until Heath came into view with a pistol aimed at the prowling lions. 3 lionesses continued stalking toward them. As Victoria jumped inside the truck bed, Blaze followed close behind her. Heath and Roy darted in and pulled the door shut, just as a lioness let out a roar and charged. She slammed into the closed hatch, cracking the glass and falling to the ground. She roared again, and the other lionesses circled the vehicle. I have one more example for you from the same book. Of course, it's the book I'm editing and the book I'm working on. And the reason I'm making this video is to share with you how I am applying show don't tell in my revision process and what I'm looking for. And in this example, the 2 main characters have discovered a room that has been abandoned, and they discover some things and they look around. And so when I was looking at this passage, I really wanted to clean it up and make sure that it was really exactly what I wanted. I eliminated some weak verbs, and I changed a few things. So again, I would love to hear from you in the comments, version A or version B. Which one do you like better? Here is version A. The faded quilt on the bed was rumpled as if someone had slept in it and never returned to make the bed. Pink frilly curtains hung over the lone window. She pulled the curtain aside and peeked out. Pressing her face to the dirty glass, she peered out between the cracks in the wood panels covering the outside of the windows. The road lay deserted, with dust and sagebrush rolling across it. A mangy-looking dog ran out from the alley and ran across the road, disappearing into the alley across the street. Blaze walked up behind her and touched her shoulder. And here is version B. These are the changes that I made. See what you think. And again, I'd love to hear from you, version A or version B. A faded quilt lay in a crumpled heap on the bed. Pink, frilly curtains hung over the lone window. She pulled the curtain aside, pressed her face to the dirty glass, and peered between the cracks in the wood panels covering the window. The road lay deserted, with dust and sagebrush rolling across it. A mangy-looking dog darted out from the alley and dashed across the road, disappearing into the alley across the street. Blaze walked up behind her and touched her shoulder. I would love to hear from you. Which version do you like better, version A or version B? Put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I would also love to hear if you have any questions about show don't tell. What do you struggle with when really trying to wrap your head around show don't tell? Put those questions in the comments. If you like this video about show don't tell, watch this one, because I think you'll really like this one as well, where I also talk more about show don't tell. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.